My name is Emma, and today I want to share a story with you. It is a special story, one that lives deep in my heart. I ask you to listen to it completely, because it is not just a story. It is a piece of my soul. Maybe it will touch your heart too. It began on a quiet, rainy afternoon. The sky was a dull shade of grey, and the soft raindrops tapped gently against my window. I sat by the window with my chin resting on my knees, watching the rain blur the world outside. I always loved the rain, but on that day, my heart felt heavy. I held a small photograph in my hands. It was old and worn, the edges slightly torn. But I didn't care. In the photo was my father. He had his arms around me, and we were both laughing. I was only 5 years old when the photo was taken. My hair was in pigtails, and I was missing my front tooth. Dad was wearing his favorite blue sweater, the one he always wore when we played in the park. I smiled faintly at the memory, but then my eyes filled with tears. You see, my father had passed away 2 years ago. It still felt unreal, like he was just away on a long trip. But deep inside, I knew he wasn't coming back. Suddenly I heard a soft knock at the door. I quickly wiped my eyes and turned around. It was my little brother, Liam. He was only 7 years old, with big brown eyes and messy hair. He walked in holding his stuffed rabbit, the one Dad had given him. "Emma," he said softly, "can you read me a story?" I stared at him for a moment. His eyes were wide and hopeful. He didn't understand how much my heart ached. He only knew that he missed Dad too, but he was too young to understand the kind of sadness I carried. I forced a smile and nodded. "Of course, buddy." We sat on the rug near the fireplace. I picked up one of his favorite books, The Adventures of Milo the Brave. It was about a small rabbit who went on big adventures, facing giants and dragons with nothing but his courage. Dad used to read it to us before bedtime. As I opened the book and began to read, Liam leaned his head against my shoulder. I felt his small, warm hand on mine. His fingers were tiny, and he gripped my hand tightly, as if he didn't want me to ever let go. Halfway through the story, I paused. My voice was trembling. I was trying hard not to cry, but Liam noticed. He looked up at me with those innocent brown eyes. "Emma," he whispered, "are you sad again?" I took a deep breath, trying to smile. "No, silly. I'm just tired." He stared at me for a moment. Then he suddenly sat up, placed his stuffed rabbit on my lap, and said, "You can have Bunbun. He makes me feel better when I'm sad." I stared at him. His face was so serious, so sincere. My throat tightened, and tears welled in my eyes. I hugged him tightly, holding him as if I would never let go. "Thank you, Liam," I whispered, my voice shaking. "I love you so much." He pulled back slightly and wiped the tears from my face with his small hand. "Don't be sad, Emma. Daddy is in the sky now. He watches us." I know he does. My heart ached at his words, but they also warmed me. The innocence and purity in his voice made me feel like Dad was closer somehow. That night, after Liam fell asleep, I sat by the window again. The rain had stopped, and the moonlight painted the sky silver. I held Liam's stuffed rabbit in my hands and hugged it close. It smelled faintly of Liam's lavender shampoo. I closed my eyes and remembered Dad's voice. I could almost hear him saying, "Take care of Liam, Emma. You're his big sister. He needs you." The next morning, I woke up early. The house was quiet. I walked into the kitchen and saw Liam sitting at the table with his crayons. He was drawing a picture. "Good morning, buddy," I said softly. He looked up and grinned. "Look," he said excitedly, holding up his drawing. It was a picture of a bright yellow sun, a blue sky, and two stick figures holding hands. One was clearly me, with long hair, and the other was Liam. Above them, in the sky, was a smiling stick figure, with a big heart next to it. "That's Daddy," Liam said proudly, pointing to the figure in the sky. "He's watching us." I smiled and ruffled his hair. "It's perfect," I whispered. After breakfast, I decided to take Liam to the park. It was the same park Dad used to take us to. The sun was warm, and the gentle breeze made the leaves dance on the trees. Liam ran ahead, laughing and chasing butterflies. I sat on the old wooden bench where Dad used to sit. I could almost see him there, with his arm around me, pointing out shapes in the clouds. "See that one, Emma?" I imagined him saying. "That cloud looks like a rabbit." I smiled faintly, closing my eyes. Suddenly, I felt a small hand slip into mine. I opened my eyes and saw Liam standing next to me. His face flushed from running. "Come on, Emma," he said eagerly. "Let's go on the swings." I let him pull me to my feet. We ran to the swings, and he climbed onto one. His legs were too short to reach the ground, so I gently pushed him. "Higher, Emma," he giggled. I smiled and pushed him again. The wind played with his hair, and his laughter filled the air. It was a sound so pure, so full of life. As I stood there, watching Liam swing higher and higher, I realized something. Even though Dad was gone, his love was still here. It was in Liam's laughter. It was in the warmth of the sun. It was in the memories that filled my heart. And at that moment, I made a promise to myself. I promised that I would be strong. For Liam, for myself, and for Dad. I would hold on to the love he gave us and carry it with me. That night, after I tucked Liam into bed, I sat by the window once again. The stars were scattered across the night sky, twinkling softly. I clutched the small photograph of Dad and held it close to my heart. "Good night, Daddy," I whispered softly. "I love you." And as I closed my eyes, I felt a gentle breeze brush against my cheek, as if the night itself was whispering back, "I love you too." If you've listened to this story until the end, thank you. If it touched your heart, please subscribe and like this for my hard work. It helps me share more beautiful and meaningful stories with you. And always remember, love never fades. It stays with us, in our hearts, in the memories we carry, and in the people we hold dear. The seasons slowly began to change, but the memory of Grandma remained as vivid as ever. I found myself holding on to the small, everyday moments that reminded me of her. The scent of lavender soap in the bathroom made me pause and close my eyes, imagining her soft hands gently washing mine. The sight of her old faded gardening gloves on the tool rack made me smile faintly, remembering how she would hum softly while planting roses. One crisp autumn afternoon, as I was walking home from school, I passed by the bakery where Grandma used to take me every Sunday after church. The smell of freshly baked bread filled the air, warm and comforting. Without even thinking, I walked inside. The bakery was nearly empty, except for an elderly woman behind the counter. She had silver hair tied neatly in a bun, and a gentle smile that instantly reminded me of Grandma. "Hello, dear," she greeted warmly. "What can I get for you today?" I stared at the display case, unsure why I had even come in. My eyes fell on a tray of golden brown cinnamon rolls, the ones Grandma used to buy for me. "One cinnamon roll, please," I whispered softly as the woman handed me the pastry. I suddenly felt a lump in my throat. I sat by the small table near the window and took a bite. The sweet, sticky frosting melted in my mouth, and for a brief moment, I was 5 years old again, sitting beside Grandma as she wiped the icing off my nose with a napkin, laughing softly. Closed my eyes and let the memory fill me, bringing with it a mixture of warmth and longing. I took my time, savoring every bite, as if eating slowly would somehow let me hold on to her a little longer. When I finished, I glanced at my watch and realized I was going to be late. I quickly paid and rushed out of the bakery, my heart still full of bittersweet warmth. As I walked home, I placed my hand over the locket, feeling its familiar coolness against my skin. Later that evening, as I sat on my bed, I carefully pulled out a notebook I had kept hidden in my drawer. It was the journal Grandma had given me for my 12th birthday, the one with the floral cover and the words, "For Your Dreams," written in gold cursive on the front. I hadn't written in it since she passed, but tonight I suddenly felt the need to. I opened it to the first blank page, and with slightly trembling hands, I began to write, "Dear Grandma, it's been a while since I wrote to you, but I still talk to you every day. Today, I bought a cinnamon roll from the bakery, the same kind you used to buy me. It tasted just like I remembered, and for a moment, it felt like you were sitting right there with me. I miss you so much, but I promise I'm doing okay. You're still with me. I see you in so many things. The flowers, the stars, the music. You're everywhere, and I carry you with me, always." By the time I finished writing, tears were streaming down my face, but they were gentle tears, tears of remembrance, of love, of gratitude. I closed the journal and hugged it close to my chest, feeling as if I had just spoken to her, as if she had heard every word. The next morning, as I walked to school, I passed by the park again. This time, I stopped. I stood by the pond, watching the ducks glide across the water, and I suddenly remembered what the elderly man had told me weeks ago. Love never really goes away. You just have to notice. I stood there for a long time, my eyes tracing the golden reflection of the morning sun on the water. And then something unexpected happened. A tiny white feather drifted down from the sky. It floated softly, gently, like it was meant just for me. I watched it swirl and dance in the air before it landed softly at my feet. I bent down and carefully picked it up. It was small and delicate, almost weightless, but in that moment, it felt as if the entire universe had placed it there just for me. I pressed the feather gently against my lips, smiling through the tears that slowly filled my eyes. "Hi, Grandma," I whispered softly. "I see you." And for the first time since she had passed, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. A quiet, gentle peace that wrapped itself around my heart and stayed there. In the days that followed, I kept the feather tucked safely inside the velvet box where I kept the locket. It became a new treasure, a new reminder that she was still with me, watching over me in ways only I could see. One evening, as I sat on the swing in Grandma's backyard, the sky was painted with streaks of orange and pink. The world was quiet except for the gentle rustling of the leaves. I pulled out the locket, opened it, and ran my finger lightly over the tiny photo inside. "Grandma," I whispered, smiling softly. "I'm okay, and I know you are too." I sat there until the sky turned a deep shade of violet, holding the locket close to my heart, knowing that some loves never fade. They simply become part of the air we breathe, the light we see, and the hearts we carry. If you're still listening, thank you for sharing this journey with me. If this story has touched your heart, please subscribe and leave a like. It helps me continue sharing more beautiful, meaningful, and emotional stories with you. And remember, no matter where you are or how far someone may seem, love is never truly lost. It simply changes form. It becomes the feather that drifts down unexpectedly, the song that makes you pause, the scent that makes you close your eyes and smile. Love is always there. You just have to notice.